What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a 2020 Nissan Pathfinder SV 4-wheel drive that we're going to be reviewing. As usual, we've got our 5 decision points that we're going to be looking at for buying a used or new vehicle, which is price, performance, styling, user friendliness, and then finally safety features. So for price, you've got your base model, your S model, that starts just under $32,000, and it ranges all the way up to just under $45,000 for the Platinum model. There are 4 different models that you can get in the Pathfinder with 2 submodels. So you've got the S, the SV, the SL, and Platinum, and then also in the SV and SL, you can get in the Rock Creek Edition. So the Rock Creek Edition is roughly about $1,000 more than the standard SV and SL editions, and basically just adds some exterior and interior aesthetic extras. Some of the exterior differences are going to be darker wheels, some black trim around the outside, and then on the inside you get leatherette seats with some cloth inserts, and both inside and outside there's Rock Creek badging, just so people know that you got the Rock Creek Edition. So with all these different trim levels, I went ahead and I built what I thought most people would be choosing, which was the SL and 4-wheel drive configuration. And the base price for that starts just a little over $40,000. So one of the reasons why I chose the SL model is because instead of cloth seats, you get leather, and then you also get an upgraded safety feature, which is the intelligent surround view camera system. The SL also comes with the nav system, but I imagine most people are probably just going to be using their phones instead of having to take this thing to the dealership to get those maps updated. And then a few of the options that I chose were all-season floor mats on the inside, the rear cargo area protector mat, all season as well, and then the rear cargo cover for some privacy for whatever you have in the back. And after choosing those options, the price came out to $41,540, which really isn't a big change from the base price, but options are pretty limited. The options are basically included in the trim packages as you move up. So that's it for price. So let's talk about performance. Every Pathfinder comes with a 3.5 liter V6 that makes 284 horsepower and 259 foot-pounds of torque. That comes with an EPA rating of 19 and 26 if you get 4-wheel drive, or if you opt for 2-wheel drive, you get 20 and 27 miles to the gallon. And across the entire lineup, you can choose either 2-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive. So the power rating seems pretty low, but across the entire lineup, again, whether or not you get 2-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive, you're going to be able to tow up to 6,000 pounds. And that tow rating is one of the big marketing features of this compared to its rivals. But now that we're done talking about the numbers of this, let's go ahead, do my favorite thing, which is take a listen to the exhaust and see what this 3.5 liter V6 actually sounds like. So now that we're done talking about price and performance, let's go ahead and talk about styling on this vehicle. As you can see, it's pretty bulbousy all around. There's not anything really new to the design of it. It just looks like a standard 7-seat passenger SUV. It does have some nice wheels on it. But again, it's just a giant vehicle. It's basically a boat. It's kind of crazy how big this thing is on the outside, and it really feels that way on the inside, which we will get to. So since there's not a whole lot to talk about for styling on this, we're just gonna go ahead and move on to the interior and talk about some of the interior features, and then also set up the Bluetooth in there. I'll see you guys inside. Welcome inside the 2020 Nissan Pathfinder SV. So as you can see, if I duck, it just keeps going in the back. This thing is pretty gigantic. It is a 7-passenger vehicle, and there's a lot of storage space also on the inside. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of show you guys around real quick. And so everything is pretty nicely laid out. Some things look a little bit old though, and we'll talk about those in just a second. second row, third row. The second row has a lot of space for your passengers. So then you have your nice gauge cluster in here and like 13 buttons on your steering wheel. Let's just kind of go through the center console. So this portion right here is what I remember having in my 2008 Infiniti G37S. It looks basically the same. The button layout is basically the same. So this thing feels like a time capsule even though it's brand new. But if we switch over to here, this feels new in here. Just the screen itself is pretty small. And as we move back over to here, it just looks super old. Again, it just reminds me of old Nissans and old Infinitis, up and down. Like it's weird. All right, as we go down the center stack, you can see we have a CD player, which you don't find very often anymore in cars. And then of course you have your climate controls down here. As we move down, got a couple of cup holders, a little bit of storage space right here. And then you also have your two-wheel drive or auto and four-wheel drive. And then if you get four-wheel drive models, you also get this button right here for your hill descent control. So let's talk about the key fob real quick. So got your standard, your panic button, your unlock button, which has these nice little nubs on it, so that way you know which is lock and unlock. Your lock button, and then finally you have your remote start button, which I've had some issues with having that work each and every time. And this issue right here was the same one that I kept having over and over again. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. It was just kind of like the luck of the draw. All right, so like I said before, you've got a decent amount of space for storage in here. The glove box is pretty big, and then you also have your upper portion and lower portion of the glove box. And then you have what seems to be two mini USB ports in the front. You've got two inside of here, and you also have a USB-C and a USB port up in the front as well. All right, so now that you've kind of seen around the interior, let's go ahead and get that music going. So I'm gonna switch you guys back over here real quick, and we'll take a look at how easy or hard it's gonna be to set up Bluetooth. All right, so setting up Bluetooth on here. Right now we've got no Bluetooth audio connection. Then we kind of come down here, we got climate audio, and then settings. Okay, so now we're in settings. You might think it's in Bluetooth, but it's actually going to be under phone. And we want to go under connect device, add new, and then we're going to go into our Bluetooth settings and our phone and go ahead and get this paired. Choosing my car. All right, audio connection completed. Bluetooth device connected. All right, now that we've kind of talked about the majority of the features that you kind of have up front, let's move to the back, and then the very back, and then finally the trunk, and talk about the user friendliness for your passengers on the inside of the Nissan Pathfinder. All right, so the back seat of the Pathfinder. Got some decent amount of leg room over here. Got like a leather trimmed area for your armrest. And you also have a cup holder just immediately here, so you're not having to scramble down or reach around or anything like that. This is one part that's kind of interesting, is that you have 4 cup holders for the back seats. Don't know why you would exactly need that, because these seem like relatively the same depth. Then you also have a nice holder for maybe crayons or something inside of here. And as we move along, bring you guys with me real quick. So you also have your own climate controls back here, and you can set it yourself, which is really nice. But just to note, the driver can always go in to the infotainment center and also change all these settings instead of you. And to point out, these things have got to be the tiniest vents I've ever seen, but they actually blow out a decent amount of air. And then finally back here, again, you got a USB-C port and then the USB port as well for charging up electronics. And then another feature, which I love when back seats have this feature, is that you can recline. And this thing goes back a pretty good amount, so you can just relax, and your Pathfinder as your driver takes you off the beaten path. It would be nice, so I'm on a little bit of an incline right now. It would be nice if these back seats had just a little bit more bolstering on the side, so that way if you are trying to take a nap, you won't be moving around so much. And then to get these seats back up, super simple. It's not banging you around like the Chevy Blazer's back seat did, trying to get that unrecline. And so now we need to get into the very back. So there's a few different points of adjustment for this seat. So you have a manual slider, then you have cargo mode, which just folds down this portion. And lift that back up, scoot this all back, and then finally it even tells you third row entry. You want to utilize this handle right here, pull up on it, slide it forward, this whole thing collapses. Now we can go ahead and climb in to the back seat. Oh, it's not comfy. So now that we're in the back seat, you also get 4 cup holders. You got 2 right here and then 2 on the opposite side. You also have your own vents, which is a very nice feature to have, whether it's on the ceiling. And this honestly, I think does work probably a little bit better than having to adjust stuff on the ceiling. So that way you're not having to run any ducts up here, and you can keep this headroom. So as you can see behind me, like these headrests, they are not comfy. They're super tall, and the floor is really, really shallow back here. And then let's see what happens if we slide this thing all the way back, like it would be if someone were sitting in there. And I'm going to bring you back here so you can see the amount of leg room I don't really have a whole lot of. So this seat isn't even all the way fully back, and yeah, my knees are touching. I'm not that tall of a person, and yeah, these seats are just not very comfy. So if you're doing a quick point A to point B trip, this would probably be fine for 7 adults. I think it would be nice if these seats recline just slightly, but I don't know why they don't. It's probably some type of regulation for the headrest or like the seat backs compared to the back of the car. I don't really know. If you do, let me know in the comment section below, but otherwise I'm gonna get out from back here and we're gonna talk about the trunk space. So this is the Pathfinder's trunk. As you can see, my bag takes up roughly about half of the space with the cross, and you have probably up to about right here for usable space for small luggage. Now, all the seats do fold, but there are a couple steps in order to do so. But before we get into that, one other thing to mention is that you do have this nice underfloor storage compartment that will help you out if you have smaller items. So step 1 to get these seats down, you want to pull on this little string, pull on this one, and then you have this handle that you'll go ahead and lift up on and just let the seat fall. And then if you need to get the seats back up, they give you a nice loop handle, and ta-da, you're done. So let's talk about trunk space now. Oh, all right. So sitting inside of here, I still have a decent amount of room. I got a lot of headroom, and maybe I want just a little bit more. So 1 second. So here's what we're looking at in total now with just the third row seats down. So now we're gonna move back around to the side, because this is the only way to do it, and go ahead and fold both of these seats down. I'll run over to the other side and do that one. Now, as you can see, we have space for so many things, including myself almost being able to lay all the way down in here in comfort. Time for a nap. Just kidding, guys. We've still got a driving portion to do. Can't nap yet. But since that does take care of the user-friendliness and practicality of the interior of the Pathfinder, we're gonna go ahead and start our driving review. All right, so driving the Pathfinder. Right away, we've got a decent size of a turn, and the steering feels pretty light. It feels like it's going to be heavy at first, and then it just kind of gives away from there. I mean, this thing is basically like driving a boat around. It's massive. So one thing that you do have in here, as we're waiting to turn, is there are G-force meters in this car. I don't know why. I have no idea why, but they are absolutely in here, and I don't understand the reasoning behind it. You get your steering angle, but it doesn't give you a degree of angle. It just tells you left or right and then center. So that's kind of also strange. All right, so the performance of this. So we've got it floored right now, and it's just barely creeping along. I mean, again, this thing is huge. It's basically just like it's towing itself. I can only imagine if you were maxing out the towing capacity on here, or even half of the capacity, say like 3,000 pounds towing, how sluggish the acceleration would be. To me, I get 6,000 pound tow capability, that's awesome, but when you're going, you know, up to 10 miles an hour in 5 seconds, that's not awesome. But overall, yeah, everything feels nice in here. The seats are nice and plushy. I could definitely see like taking a road trip with this. You know, you may need to stop every now and then just to kind of stretch your legs out, but overall, like, this definitely isn't gonna make you tired in any way. So the ride quality in here isn't that bad. It sometimes gets a little rough over bigger bumps, but overall it's got a nice, like, solid feel to it. It feels like I could take it off-road if I needed to, but it also stays pretty poised in the city as well. So the cabin noise in here isn't that bad either. It's there. Definitely the tire noise is more than anything else. So the brakes in this thing feel really, really nice. Like, as soon as you start stepping on them, it slowly starts braking along immediately, which is a really good feeling. There's not any like give in the pedal prior to it actually braking, which most car manufacturers don't have any issues with anymore, but sometimes there is just that little bit of give right before it starts catching the actual brakes. Again, the lack of performance in this is just insane. Like, it slowly gets there, but it just never feels like it's giving you enough power for what you're trying to do. So definitely for passing on the interstate or anything like that, like, you're not gonna have that full confidence that this thing is gonna actually speed up when you need it to and actually get around the car in front of you. So like I mentioned before, for inside of this vehicle, like, it's just almost like a flashback to when I had my Infiniti back in the day. Just because of that infotainment screen. It's weird to see, like, basically the same layout, like the same angle of the screen. I don't I don't know how Nissan hasn't like updated all their vehicles. And then another thing that's strange in here is that there's, and it probably goes back to the fact that this isn't an updated infotainment center. There's no Android Auto, there's no Apple CarPlay. If you go inside the glove box and you plug into those the USB port that's in there, At least with an iPhone, it'll be like, would you like to use your iPod to listen to music? What iPods? Like, those are pretty 2010. Yeah, so it's kind of weird. Yeah, like I mentioned before, like there's so much like technology that's kind of crammed into that small little gauge cluster screen. And I wish that they had made that a larger screen and then also transferred some of that information into the actual infotainment center. As far as stereo options go in here, you're only limited to one stereo option per model. So until you get to Platinum, you're stuck with a 6-speaker system. And then once you move to Platinum, you're getting a 13-speaker Bose system. It's kind of one of those things, I don't know why they don't offer the Bose system across the lineup, or at least like an upgraded stereo, but that's what they did. Time to see how the stereo actually sounds though, even though it's got 6 speakers. So let's get this thing playing. Hello? So the Bluetooth connection is laggy in itself. It's got like a 3 to 5 second delay built into it. Everything sounded good until about the 90-95% volume mark, and then there was a decent amount of distortion with it all, highs and lows. That was kind of strange. I never really heard it just pop on like that, just one little notch. Usually it kind of gradually comes in, but overall it's not a bad sounding system with it only having 6 speakers. It sounds pretty clear up until that, you know, that 90-95% mark. So as far as safety features go, once you move up to the SV, you're really getting a lot that comes standard. So you've got your automatic emergency braking, your blind spot warning system, rear cross traffic alert, your intelligent cruise control, hill start assist, and then like I mentioned before, you get the hill descent control when you choose 4-wheel drive. And then once you move up to the SL or the Platinum, the only thing that you're getting extra as far as safety feature goes is the intelligent around view monitoring system. Then if you choose the base model, you do get an automatic emergency braking as standard, get your rear view camera, your rear sonar system, so your parking sensors, and then also you get your hill start assist, and if you choose the base model with 4-wheel drive, then you also get that hill descent control as well. But really, you know, your packages or your trim levels is where you're getting your extra safety features, and those can't be added in at any other time. I've mentioned this a handful of times now. I don't understand why safety features aren't available on all models as options, but that's how car manufacturers are doing it, and it kind of irks me just a little. If you guys have watched my other car reviews, you know that it irks me a lot. It just frustrates me. I don't get why, you know, all safety features aren't available as options even on all the models. But that's all I'm going to say about that, because I will continue to harp on that until my voice is heard on these safety features. The overall driving experience of this really isn't that bad. It feels good. It feels nice. Everything makes you feel in control of the car. The only thing that's weird to me, I've used all the other features except for the automatic emergency braking. I gotta find like a cardboard box or something, because I tell you, my foot gets real twitchy trying to let that thing do its thing. And then also I don't want to freak other people out, because that just wouldn't be good, or have someone else rear into me because they don't have that, and yeah, it would just be a bad day. So let's take a listen to the exhaust now while driving, and then after that, we're gonna wrap this thing up. 2020 Nissan Pathfinder SV four-wheel drive. It's a pretty large vehicle, pretty slow to accelerate, but overall it feels like you have a lot of control while driving it. So in terms of price and performance, I think you do get a lot of standard safety features as you move through those trim levels, but the performance is lacking for that price that you're getting, even though it's got a 6,000 pound towing capacity. In terms of styling, this thing will blend in with everything. Doesn't matter if you get the Rock Creek edition or not, besides, you know, a few badges here and there. This thing just looks like your everyday run-of-the-mill SUV. So as far as user friendliness goes, everything is relatively user friendly, though in the infotainment center it is kind of outdated, even though you get a G-force meter. But even as you move from the front to the middle to the back, everything's kind of got its place. You know, you've got cup holders throughout, which is great for other passengers. You've got tons of USB ports, both in the front and then also in the second row. Then as far as safety features go, I think that they did a really good job implementing safety features into these trim levels. Even though the base model doesn't have a lot and you can't option it, it is nice though that they're kind of like options as you move through each trim level. That's going to take care of it for the review on the 2020 Nissan Pathfinder SV four-wheel drive. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think about this thing in the comments below. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next time. Okay, bye.